Okay, so I'm here with Chris Rush and Nick Walker, and so I'm pleased to say that we are speaking with Chris Rush today of Off the Class.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Yeah, super.
Welcome, Chris Rush. Hey, it's great to have you. Could you tell us a little bit about your background for people who don't know you?
Sure, yeah. So I have been teaching ESL online full-time, basically, since 2012. So I really didn't know, what I wanted to do. I became an ESL teacher. In 2012, I was scarcely aware that there was even an online portion to ESL, and even then there was. So I started working from home, and then I traveled around the United States in my RV or my caravan, just teaching everywhere that I went, from coffee shops and all kinds of situations. So so now I started doing work for a company called OffToClass.com, and OffToClass is an online ESL toolkit for other English teachers. So right now I'm not so much doing the actual teaching, but I'm helping get the word out to other teachers about Off to Class to help them improve their teaching.
Okay, so I like an expression you used recently. I saw it called teacherpreneur. So how do you help teachers? You're a teacherpreneur. How do you actually help ESL teachers?
Yeah, so we have kind of two things that we do, right? So we help teacherpreneurs and we help schools and larger programs. So the way that we might help a teacherpreneur, so what we might call like a freelance ESL teacher, we would help a freelance ESL teacher by reducing or even completely eliminating their lesson prep time. So Off the Class has about 800 ready-to-teach lessons. They can be used in the classroom, but they're also able to be used online in a Zoom conversation, just like the platform we're using here. So it basically allows teachers to not have to wonder what they're going to teach next. They give a placement test to their students at the beginning. The placement test will level the student, and it will also match all the student mistakes to one of the lessons from our library that will fix the mistake. There's games, there's student management. Basically, it just allows the teacher to focus on other things and to handle more students with less administrative burden.
Okay, sounds great.
Great. So could you tell us a little bit of what you do in your role at Off to Class? What do you do every day?
Yeah, so I have kind of an interesting and varied role. I really help to get the word out for Off to Class. So I manage our Facebook community. I write a lot of our blog posts. I am the person who is mainly in charge of our customer service. So anytime someone comes to offtoclass.com and says, I have a problem, how do I do this? Can you help me? I'm usually the person on the other end. I make videos that kind of help teachers, that explain our product. So Off to Class, it's 4 years old, and we're not a big company, so everyone kind of is still, wearing a lot of hats and doing a lot of roles. So the way that it works for me is I basically do anything that I can to help teachers and schools use Off to Class more efficiently.
And interestingly, Nick and I are based in Montreal, but this company is based in Toronto.
Toronto, yeah. Off to Class is based in Toronto. I happen to be in Florida in the United States, but Off to Class is in Toronto. That's correct.
Okay, so give us an idea. Tell teachers how they could learn more about this, any kind of links that you want to mention.
Yeah, sure. So we have a 30-day free trial, and in the 30-day free trial, teachers can go and sign up for that account. And once a teacher signs up for that account, then they'll start receiving emails from me on every few days explaining how the product and the process works. But during the free trial, teachers will be able to send 2 placement tests. And so the placement test is really key to what we do, because the placement test allows you to evaluate your student and allows you to see what weaknesses the student has. So usually what I suggest that teachers do is when they sign up for a free trial account and they send 1 placement test to themselves and 1 to a real student. And that way the teacher can do the placement test because it evaluates grammar as well as reading, writing, speaking, and listening, so you can see kind of what the results look like. And the free trial allows the teachers to open up lots of the lessons in our library. So you can kind of get a feel for what sort of lessons they are, what they look like, how they work. So it takes it from being like this theoretical thing, I don't know, will this work, to teachers can get really hands-on. So I just suggest any teacher that's interested in it, whether it's on behalf of themselves as a freelancer or as a teacher, in a university environment, it's definitely something that we use with higher education all over the world. Go to and create a free trial account and take a look for yourself.
That's very interesting. Perhaps you could share some of your insights into good pedagogy. What for you, Chris, makes for good learning and good teaching? What insights can you share?
Well, I think one of the most important things is to have a tailored approach, right? One size fits all. That often is kind of the weakness of kind of like an older style. Like by having a tailored approach, you're able to give each student what they need. So that's a big reason that Off2Class uses the placement test, which generates an error report that's specific to that student, has specific things that are targeted to that student. So what a lot of our teachers do is they will work with a group on kind of the common level competencies, and then the student will have self-study in kind of a blended way to work on the things that are specific to them. So, and that's kind of another thing, is really this blended learning environment, because it really works well when you have a teacher who is able to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm here to show this to you. I'm here to hold your hand and help you grasp these concepts. And then the student has the opportunity, whether it's at home, whether it's in a computer lab, wherever they are, even on any device, they can access the things that are relevant to them, and they can work on some of those competencies that they're also getting worked on in the classroom. So to me, it's like having this blended environment where you have this combination of things that are happening in the classroom with this tailor-made, these things that are based on a student's weaknesses. So to me, that's really what I see as being good pedagogy.
Now, let me say this here. In the college where I teach and where Nick teaches, we have help centers, these remedial centers where they have tutors or monitors who work with students. And they're not professional teachers, but they're good. And this seems to be an ideal tool for these remedial centers across Quebec and across Canada to help weaker students improve on a very specific tailor-made basis.
I agree with that. So a lot of the institutions that we work with, some will use Off2Class wholesale and basically use it as a textbook replacement. Other schools that we work with, if they feel like they have a system in place that is working well for them, will use Off2Class in a supplementary way. So for example, they'll say, okay, well, we've got this population of students, this subset of our overall students that need a little something extra, and what can we do for them? And Off2Class is often that thing. And I think it's also interesting that you mentioned the ones who the instructors in this environment are not necessarily the professional teachers, because Off2Class with every lesson in our library has a set of teacher notes. So it's basically like even someone who's never seen the lesson before, even someone who doesn't necessarily have all the experience in the world, there's like this safety net. So the teacher, has all the answers, has what the goal of the slide is, and sees kind of what they're supposed to be doing.
Fantastic. That has lots of potential, I think, Nick, huh?
Yeah, sure. I think colleges around the province would be interested in using what we call aide à la réussite. It's a budget that colleges have to help their at-risk students achieve the objectives of the course, and perhaps Off2Class can be part of a formula that involves language monitors, teachers, and perhaps some online learning to create the kind of blend that ensures that all students succeed and get through their college program without a hitch. And so I think this is wonderful. And perhaps what we should do is talk about, we're kind of running out of time, so perhaps we should talk about how people who are interested, or college teachers in departments, if they're interested in this, how can they get started? How can they contact you, and what should they take away from this conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do try to make it as easy as possible. Any teacher or administrator who's interested in learning more about Off2Class can just go to off2classes.com and sign up for a free trial account. And as soon as you sign up for a free trial account, we'll get in touch with you. We'll kind of help you learn the ropes of what the platform is like. And you can sort of have the space to send the placement test, register a couple of students, open some of the lessons. Because really, this started off as really just kind of a simple thing a few years ago. It started off as just a small project of making lessons. And once teachers started finding it, they started saying, we really want to use this in our schools. So it's been really great watching it grow just kind of organically, but through word of mouth. So we are so excited to let teachers have the opportunity just to get their hands on it, right? Just to see. Because we feel like when the teachers get their hands on it, they tend to like it. They tend to want to use it. So, any way that we can be helpful, whether on an individual teacher level, or on a classroom level, department level, we're happy to do that.
Give us 3 takeaways, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. So number 1, I would say any teacher who's interested in learning more, go to offtoclass.com.
And that's the letter, that's numeral 2.
Yes, right. Thank you for pointing. I say it so many times that it's just so easy for me to forget, right? Off and then the number 2 and then class.com. Because the other takeaways, I would say, number one would be relevance. I think it's just so important to be providing students with material that is relevant. So no matter what you do, no matter what way you teach, that's really important because, and this is kind of the third thing, we really want to avoid this situation where students are getting left behind, right? Where students have students who maybe are at a remedial level, and how do we get them what they need? It's a different population, students who are maybe not part of the kind of the regular curriculum. So how can we make sure that they are getting the outcomes that they need, so that they can have the success for them?
I think that's a wonderful message. I think that's very helpful. Final words, Nick?
Thank you very much, Chris. It's been great meeting you, and I wish you all the luck in the world for your project. It sounds fantastic.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and it was a pleasure speaking to you both.
Yeah, we'll keep in touch. Okay.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Thanks a lot.